In football, employment-related claims for overdue payables between players and clubs, particularly those with an international dimension, the limitation period should not start counting until the player has left the club. It shouldn't. Now, why this is not the position of the regulations, it's my view that it should be. In this video, I'm going to explain why I believe it should be the position of the regulations. Under the regulations, the Football Tribunal cannot entertain a matter that falls within its jurisdiction if more than 2 years have elapsed since the cause of action arose. Now, on the surface, this seems like an innocuous provision, a harmless provision that hurts no one. After all, it seeks to prevent stale claims. It seeks to encourage you to timely file your claims before the Football Tribunal. But that's where all the beauty ends. That's where it ends. Now, what you must understand is that this provision does not take into cognizance the inherent peculiarities of some of these claims that come to the Football Tribunal, particularly employment-related matters between players and clubs. And sometimes players find it very difficult to timelessly file claims for overdue payables against their employers before the Football Tribunal. It happens. And sometimes this is fueled by the fear of retribution. They do not know how the club will react. They are scared that the club would take it out on them. And this is usually because of the imbalance of power in employment relationships. You find a professional player who's just starting out. He's at the lowest ebb, but he's playing football for a big club. He sees it as an opportunity to prove himself on a grander stage. Now, this limitation of action or limitation period may not affect players who are at the top echelon of organized football. Those ones wield enormous powers. It may not affect them. But for players who are the lowest ebb of organized football, professional players who are the lowest ebb of organized football, for them it's very difficult to take advantage of these provisions, especially when the limitation period starts counting from the period when the cause of action arose. I'll give you an example. A football player who has been playing football at the lowest ends of organized football in Nigeria, by some stroke of luck, is transferred to a top club in Bulgaria or a top club in Poland. He signed to a 5-year deal. This is huge sign-on fees. But the club owes him his salary for his 4th month. They owe him salaries in his 10th month and 12th month. At the end of his first year, he's been owed 3 monthly salaries. The same thing happens in the 2nd year. For this player, if he files a claim against the club for breach of contract, he will most likely succeed. But the problem is that FIFA will only guarantee him financial returns. They will put him in the same position he would have been had the club not breached his employment contract. But FIFA does not guarantee your sporting interest. For this player who is at this level, he's still trying to break into the first team. He has had few minutes. He has been on the bench for a long time. He wants to break into the first team. For him, his sporting interest is more important. So if he proceeds to terminate his employment contract, he may return to where he came from. Or he might find it difficult to get to a club at this level. Alternatively, he may file a claim for overdue payables. What he's essentially saying by filing that claim is that I want to remain at the club, but I want to recover the amount which you owe me. For the players, there is a genuine fear of retribution. The player tells you, if I proceed against the club may condemn me to the bench. So he's drowned by the fear of retribution. And because of this fear of retribution, the player is unable to proceed against the club before the Football Tribunal of FIFA. In his 3rd year at the club, the same thing happens. He's owed 3 monthly salaries at different points. The same thing happens in his 4th year at the club, but his fortunes on the field of play improves. He's getting minutes, he's scoring goals. Quickly, the club sells him off. And you quickly file a claim against the club for overdue payables before the Football Tribunal. Sadly, what the Football Tribunal will do is to limit itself to claims that fall within the 2-year limitation period. So you will lose all the outstanding payments which you would have earned in your 1st year at the club. All the outstanding payments which you would have earned for some point in your 2nd year that do not fall within the 2-year limitation period, you will lose them. Because of this doctrine or the way the doctrine is applied. I'm not saying that limitation periods should not apply to this sort of claims. What I'm saying is that the commencement date for this limitation period should be after the player's employment contract has ended, by way of natural expiration, mutual termination, or unilateral termination. And the reason is because of this fear of retribution. There is imbalance of power in employment relationships. Players are scared, some are worried about where the next job will come from. So they might not take these actions against their employers. So the limitation period should only start counting when the player leaves the club. I believe football stakeholders should push for this amendment.